Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host for today, Claire Headley, and this is my next episode of Scientology Stories, where I talk with all kinds of people about their experiences in Scientology. And trust me, Scientology does not want you to hear these stories. So thank you for being here. Thank you for helping us spread the word. Thank you for helping us educate the public in general on the evil of Scientology. My special guest for today is Nora Ames. Welcome, Nora.
Hey, Claire.
Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I have been very much looking forward to this conversation since we interacted, but I don't think I've seen you in person since we both got out, right?
No, we're like two ships in the night, not like we were both in LA forever.
Yes.
And true story that I haven't actually told you is that like when my ex-husband Cameron and I found out that you guys were like in Burbank and we were in Ventura, for a long time, I was like, you should get a job with Mark and you should just ask him, can you work at his company? He was like, I don't know. I don't want to ask him. That seems weird. Like, I shouldn't talk to the person I used to know. And like, I was like, you should tell him you could do all this stuff for him. I'm sure he'll hire you. He's like, I don't know about that. I don't want to. He should have done it.
He totally should have.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Like, I would go work for them. And he's like, I was like, you should have done it. It would have been great. Would have been awesome. But he was like, yeah, I don't want to bug him. I don't want to bug him.
No, you know what? That's the beauty of the network that has grown and is continuing to grow. It's huge, and we all work together and we all collaborate together, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's just, we always used to joke in the Sierra, like, you always had to check before you got like involved with somebody to make sure you weren't like cousins, because like Scientology is the smallest town on the planet. And then I knew somebody who actually did end up getting married. And then they found out later they were like third cousins or something.
Oh, no.
Weird. And it was like, is this kosher? Like, I don't know,
Yes, no, absolutely. I know. I love that from you, the small town, because it's so true. Like everybody knows everybody, and you're like, oh.
And you find out later from your parents, like, oh yeah, I worked with that guy in the 70s and we were at this org. And you're like, oh God, like now this is a thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the first guy I was like actually engaged to, my mom worked with his dad. And as soon as she found out his last name, she was like, It's like they had a thing, not my parents and his parents had a thing, but like they had like a rivalry from back in the 70s that was like not healed. And then when he found out my mom's name, they were like that, like it was like a thing. And I was like, wow, we're gonna have a whole thing now because you guys are jerks to each other. That's stupid.
So, it was the same in England for me growing up. I was like, oh my gosh. My stepdad worked with my first boyfriend's mom, and my mom wouldn't let me date him, so I did it on the down low, and it was just a matter of time before I was assigned lower ethics conditions because I withheld it from them. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it's like nuts. You have to, as a teen anyway, you have to be like careful of what you're doing, and you hide stuff anyway. I mean, my teens think they're hiding stuff. And I'm like, y'all, first of all, both my parents were private investigators in real life. My dad was a PI, and then my mom worked for a PI office, and my mom was in the Guardian's office. So she was like trained in all of that spy stuff. And then like I, worked for the culty cult. And I'm like, you guys think you're going to get one over on me? Like, are you an insane person? Like, when I joke, like I have eyes in the back of my head, like I have massive superpowers. Like, so if you think you're going to lie to me and get away, like not only have I lied, I've been trained in the superpowers of lying. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah, really. Exactly. You're not going to get away with stuff, kiddos.
Please don't even try it. Like, I could lie to you so well right now. You would have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I do all the time. I tell them ridiculous things and they're like, really? And I'm like, you guys, please try to like do some fact checking, please.
Don't believe everything at first go.
Because I can say it. So, I mean, you and I both know how convincing we can be, because in the training we did, over the years, it's just like you train to be just, whatever you say is just law.
Yes. Yeah, and
just the
also to
law.
be expert at dodging questions and not answering questions while making the person feel that you have completely.
All the information,
Yeah,
all of it,
totally.
100% of it. There's nothing you don't know.
Yeah.
And I just like I've had to train myself to pause when someone asks me a question to not
Hmm.
immediately give an answer,
Totally. I know. Me
right?
too. Yeah, absolutely. And by the
Especially when
way,
I don't know.
yeah. And by the way, before I forget, I just wanted to say congratulations on the great success of your channel. Oh no,
Oh,
Nora. I
thank
will I
you.
will link to it, and everyone here watching, please go and subscribe. Great content there, very entertaining and an amazing part of SPTV.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I try to
Absolutely.
bring my own, brand of humor and levity to all of this, craziness that we have
Yes.
to talk about here in Scientology, ex-Scientology land, and
I
kind of
know.
dissect it, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. We have endless content between all of us. I mean, there's literally no end in sight for we could keep going for as long as we want to, and we will.
Well, I know when people read my resume, whenever I've gone for a job interview, they're like, "Oh, you were an associate producer on a show," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "What show?" And I was like, "Oh, Leah Remini's, Scientology." And after, I was like, "Oh, I watched that. That was so amazing. Oh my god!" And they start talking about everybody on the show, and I was like, "Yes, yes, yes." And then the interview turns into an hour-long interview about just the show, and so they always ask me, "Is all of that really true?" And I'm like, "Yes." But I said,
Mhm.
"I want to be full disclosure with you, like." Everything you saw on the show, 100% true. However, asterisk, that is the tip of the tip of the tip of the iceberg because there are thousands of hours on the cutting room floor that we could not air, and even people we couldn't air from the show because it legal from A&E was like, sorry, we can't.
Right.
We literally can't
Totally.
air it because it's too much.
Hmm.
It's too much, because they wouldn't allow it
Yeah.
on a even on A&E on that level of channel, and probably HBO would be like, "Ah, we can't." Even Netflix was like, "Mm," you know?
I
So, yeah.
know it's crazy, but yeah, that's and to me that's the beauty of YouTube is
Mhm.
this is our stories in our way, in our time, and on our terms. So it's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
And so I've never asked you this.
Mm.
Are you second or third generation Scientologist?
Second. Both
Second.
my parents got in the '70s. My dad got in the Davis Mission Network in Northern California,
Yep.
and then my mom got in, because her best friend told her that she could not read the copy of Dianetics on his bed. It wasn't for her. It was too you don't wanna read that. So she marched in to the San Francisco org and told them that she didn't wanna have anything to do with religion, she just wanted a copy of Dianetics, which is so 1970s, and they were like,
Yes.
"Okay, here's a book." And she read it cover to cover and immediately quit taking heroin, and you just cold turkey, which is like hello. And then got dove headfirst into Scientology because they were like, "Hey, you're a freak, come join us."
Mm-hmm.
And She was like, "Sweet, you guys like me," and then dove into that abomination. But the San Francisco org was like an eclectic, crazy town, bunch of people that were just partying every Friday night. Like my mom used to joke there was no party like a Scientology party
Hmm.
on Friday nights. It was very wild and a crazy time there in the city.
Yep.
So like their brand, every generation of Scientology has a very different view of
True.
Scientology. Like the guys who got in the 50s with just the Dianetics have their very strict view. And there's even some of those guys hanging around now that are just like, we're Dianeticists. This is our bag of chips. That's it. We're
Right.
doing this. And maybe like the Phoenix lectures and the very early lectures from Elron. And then you have the people who got in the 60s, like when the Sierra was starting, and they're like the very early developers, and they believe in like the very strict stuff that he was talking about on the ship and stuff like that. Those guys have their very strict view. And then you have the guys in the 70s that were like, we're in this like new wave and we're part of the party people. And they were a part of like when he was doing, the Sate Hill stuff, and he was developing the early, class 6 to class 8. And it was like, boom, we're doing the standard tech, the original standard tech. And they're like part of that. And then you have the 80s people when everything changed for the first time. And we have the IAS, whoa, 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 Scientology. And it was like this whole rah, rah. And then you have us kids who grew up with these parents who were like, pom-poms in the air for Scientology. We're fighting the IRS is our enemy and psychiatry is our enemy. Pow, pow, pow. And we were like, oh okay. We don't know, but everybody's our enemy, whatever.
Yeah.
We're in lower conditions. Hot dog, and we were just like, everybody's a bad person.
I know. And meanwhile, I was just like, can I just please have a normal life?
Right. We were just like, we just want to go to the movies. Like, and like E.T. was coming out and Star Wars was out. And we were like, can we just go watch Indiana Jones?
Exactly.
Like we just wanted to do normal kid shit. And my mom, thankfully, she left a year and a half after I was born. And so I was born in 76. She was in the Guardian's office, and they had like originally, I was a baby in the Guardian's office at what's now Celebrity Center. And she was on the 7th floor there. And she didn't have a babysitter. So like I was in like a playpen there in her office listening to everything. So her senior got it in his twisted mind that as a baby, I was, secretly absorbing all of this top secret information and wanted to bond me because, at some point later in a session, I was going to recall all of the shenanigans that the B1 department, which is now like then turned into OSA, right?
The extreme dirty tricks, folks.
Right. This was the dirty tricks department that then evolved into OSA when the Guardian's office was disbanded, that all of the missions they were sending out and all this other stuff, that I was going to recall all this stuff as like a literal 3-week-old. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is how like crazy doodles they were. I mean, like,
and by the way, just side note, they use the term disband, but in reality, it was just renamed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They were disbanded.
Quote unquote.
They were just renamed. Yeah. Yeah. OSA never likes to own up to that, by the way, that they were then because they took people from the Guardian's office and then just put them in OSA. Like, let's be real.
I know.
Let's be real.
And
they use the same techniques. They like to completely disassociate themselves from Mary Sue and everybody else. It's the same stuff. They just reworded it and made it into flag orders instead of Guardian's office policy. Anyway.
Yes, yeah. I know.
That's
a whole other tangent.
To bury that underneath and pretend the Guardian's office didn't exist and they didn't do all this stuff, but it's the same stuff. Anyway, we could do 85 episodes on that.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So they wanted to bond you when you were 3 weeks old.
And bond me as a baby. And my mom was like, you're an insane person. This is nuts. She's a baby. And so then when my mom decided to leave, she was basically like, she saw the writing on the wall. Operation Snow White had happened. The raids were starting to happen. And she was like, I'm just going to be a mom. This is this. And her contract was up. So she was going to leave the legal way. She was just like, hey, I'm not signing a new contract. And they were like.
So she was staff, not the organization.
Right.
Okay.
So she was like, they were like, what do you mean you're not signing another what? And so she started getting sec checked by her best friend. Totally legit. She went through months of sec checking. So then they decided that because her excuse for leaving was she was going to be a mom, clearly I was an SP.
Oh,
now I went from being bonded to being an SP.
At how old is this now?
Now I'm a year and a half old. I'm 18 months old.
Unbelievable.
So now they tried to declare me as an SP at 18 months old because I was having my mom leave this organization. So she did leave. They finally let her go. And we moved to, Rinky-Dink Lodi where my dad grew up. And then my sister was born there. We didn't really do a lot of stuff. And then my parents, my dad tried to join staff again in San Francisco org, which he did. My mom told them not to hire him. She was like, he's just going to do training and then blow off staff, which he did. And then he was a bit of a wackadoo. And then they got divorced when I was 8.
Okay.
And then he got remarried. He moved down to LA. As soon as my mom got remarried, like he figured out, oh, she's okay now. And then he moved to LA and then dove like head first back into Scientology, like
I see.
co-auditing, auditing other people, doing training, trying to get up his OT levels because his new sugar mama wife had money. And so he was like just sucking up her inheritance. So every time after that I would go visit him in LA, because I was in NorCal, he would just basically be throwing me into some Scientology wackadoo stuff because we weren't really doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so it'd be like pimping me out to the AO recruiters, any recruiter he could throw me in front of from the time I was basically 10 on. I mean,
Wow.
at 8, I got recruited by the San Francisco org staff at like an event. They were like, you could join staff. I'm like, what? Okay, sure. That sounds like fun, but that's just normal Scientology stuff. You're 8 years old, you're able, you're fun. You have a
you're not a child. You're an adult in a small body.
If you're in a conversation for more than 10 minutes, they consider you able.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. And so, yeah, I mean, he was always putting me on the meter, trying to get me to tell him stuff about my past lives, trying to figure out if I was OT or not. Like, as soon as he started doing the OT levels, he would like feed me like prompters.
Yep.
And then when I tested the last lifetime clear at 13. At the time, I was one of the youngest last lifetime clears on the planet. Very prestigious.
Mm-hmm.
Then the recruitment started hardcore. At that point forward, it was like, why aren't you returning to post?
Right.
And then the guilt, and just like every time I was like, well, I want to do this in life. And then it was like, well, but this is more, it just was awful. It was
awful. And I don't know about you, but the lines that recruiters fed to me were really alarming. Like, we're running out of time. Everyone's going to die. The planet is going down. It's like heavy duty when you're, 10, 11, 12 years old. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad person. I just want to play and have fun. And I'm off purpose and out ethics.
Right. Well, my favorite one was at one point I wanted to be a search and rescue officer and like fly helicopters and like do that in my area. And this one recruiter at Bridge was like, well, yeah, that would be amazing. Like, that's really brave of you to want to like run into a fire and like save people. Like, that's really awesome. However, the planet itself is on fire because of, the reactive mind, and it's murdering everyone, and there's one Sea Org member for every million people on the planet. And are you brave enough to walk down that line of million people and just look every single one of those people in the eyes, like dead in the eyes, and say, fuck you, I don't care about you.
Wow.
And let them burn. Let their reactive mind burn them alive. And just old people, young people, babies, and just tell them, it's okay with me that your reactive mind murders you and you die for all eternity and turn into a rock and mist and just erode into nothing. Because that's what you're doing if you don't join the Sea Org right now. You're condemning them to eternity as messed.
Yep.
Or you can go run into a building and maybe save 10 people for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And the sad part is,
and I was
course,
like,
you would have saved more people had you actually
I would have saved more people as a firefighter. But I mean, I was like, oh my God, I don't want people to be a rock. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I just was like, is that what I'm doing? Like, I'm murdering babies. I'm turning them into rocks. Like, it hit me so hard. Like, I was like, I am a terrible person because I want to jump out of helicopters and save people from drowning in a river. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
I'm so off purpose. I'm such a terrible, but that's what they tell children.
Right. With no adult present either, and no requirement that they even tell the parents that they're having these conversations.
No, my dad put me in that room on purpose, and then was like, "What did they tell you?" And then I told him, and he was like, "Yeah." My favorite one was like, I'm a big basketball player. I love basketball. That was my passion in life. Well, we have an Olympics once a year. You could play in our Olympics. Sea Org Day.
Oh,
this is what they're describing.
We
have a Sea Org Olympics. It's international. It's Claire, they're describing Sea Org Day. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
you and I both know what Sea Org Day is, and then you're lucky
not
if you
that.
Go. It's an Olympics, Claire. It's an Olympics. I want you to think about Sea Org Day for a minute and just recall that and just think, was that ever an Olympics?
No, hell
Did you
no.
did
Oh
you
my
compete? Did you get a
goodness.
medal? Did you compete? Did you train for that Olympics,
Oh
Claire?
no. And I don't even remember them playing actual sports. It was more like
Thank
tug of
you.
war and, you know,
I remember when they
oh
didn't
my
let people go
gosh.
shopping anymore during that Olympics and people
Mhm.
lost their shit.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So how old were you when you finally did sign and begin in the Sea organization?
I was 18 still. It
Okay.
was January 29th, 1995. Was it 95 or 96? Let's see. Went down 95. January
95.
29th, 1995. When I signed that Sierra contract. Yeah.
And was that at Celebrity Center or where?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I
And
signed many Sierra contracts. Let's put it that
of
way.
course,
That was
yeah,
the
I
one,
did
the
too.
official one when I actually joined.
Okay. Because I remember being at Celebrity Center when I was still part of Golden Era,
Yeah.
and we were getting people to sign CEO contracts. I don't remember if you were if I met you then or if I met you later
No,
in Clearwater.
no, you met me at Celebrity Center. There
Okay.
was a big mission. You guys were there for something else. I was the recruiter at that
Oh,
time.
okay.
So you
Okay.
were there when we put on, remember when you came down when we put on that big event, when we put on that huge event when Sandy came down
Yes.
and, oh, what's his face? Senior Assistant.
Ray Midoff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sandy and Ray came down to speak, and we put on the largest recruitment event in the history of the Sea Org. Yeah. You guys all
Yes.
came down, and we were
And
putting on that.
Gelda Midoff was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody and their grandma was there. It was the largest recruitment event in the history of the Sea Org. We
And how
decked
many
out
people how many people actually signed?
200.
Oh, wow, that's pretty
Yeah, we
good.
actually had
But
I think it was like 250 people, including my father, who was not eligible for the Sea organization. Shut up.
yeah,
Huge
that's what I was
LSC
going to
case.
say.
Yeah.
Not of those 200 and some that signed, what, maybe 10 actually joined?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
people came because obviously the chance to see Ray Midoff speak and Sandy and all these other people speak was enormous. So
Yes.
people showed up to see the top echelon people speak, which was fantastic. So we had a huge turnout, which was great.
Yeah.
And, they weren't just coming to see the stupid recruitment video that everybody's seen 10,000 times,
Mhm.
that I think produced, 5 entire recruits in the history of that video,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, gosh, it's funny. I had totally forgotten about that massive event. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember being at Celebrity Center, and I remember too that that's the first time that I met John Travolta because he was very good friends with Gelda,
Yeah.
who was my senior. Anyway, crazy stories, but
Oh,
anyway.
JT, yeah. And I don't, everybody always wants to ask, the gay question about John. And I just feel like that's such a tired question. I mean,
Mhm.
just for me personally, I feel like a you know, John's support of Scientology is bad
Mhm.
because he's been unwavering in it. I don't like, for me personally, here's my thing on John. My interactions with him were golden. He's a sweet man.
Mhm.
To me personally, he's been nothing but kind to me ever. For the other people that I know who he interacted with personally, like Spanky, and stuff like that, I really wish that he would reevaluate his relationship with Scientology.
Yep, agreed.
Um, for what he knows, what Scientology did to Spanky's family and everything else, and his personal relationship with Spanky. Um, you know, I think that he needs to reevaluate a lot of stuff because they're just using him, just like they're using everybody else. I mean, they've used his name too many times in the past, and in the 70s. They used to, on the down low, kind of like promote that they had like cured his gayness. So like, John, like that's not facts. Also, like, I don't really care if you're gay. Nobody cares if you're gay or
No.
not gay or bisexual or whatever. That's your personal business. And at this point, you're in your 70s, honey. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Like
I know.
just be
But
you. Like
yeah.
just just do you, and the gay community would fucking embrace you, and it would just be like, your kids aren't going to care. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Just
And
do it.
and also too, I'm always of the view someone who's a celebrity should absolutely at least Google what they're supporting and Google what they're promoting to the public and endorsing by
Yeah.
virtue of I mean, they're not. Scientology is absolutely using him. You're correct.
100%. I mean, I know you and I talked about like Elizabeth Moss. What made me mad about Elizabeth Moss, she's also a second gen, right?
Yep.
So here's what gets me about her is like, as far as I know, she hasn't done a lot of Scientology
Yep.
as a second gen. She's done her Pura for sure. My sister was her twin on the Pura many years ago, like 20 plus years ago. She's done very little training, the minimum like PTSSP, of course, and a couple other things. She's not very super high on the bridge. She's not an OT. She might be clear, maybe. I don't know.
Yep.
But she's not, she's very peripheral. Do you know what I mean? Like she's just like one toe in, and she'll say, I'm a Scientologist when she's required to. Like
Right.
she did a huge Vanity Fair article recently, when the third season of Handmaids was coming out. And I really thought for a while that she might be pulling away. And I think somebody pulled her right back in recently, was like, hey, you need to start like speaking up because we're not hearing a lot from you, because she hadn't said anything in years about Scientology, right? So in this Vanity Fair article, she made it abundantly clear that like paragraphs talking about Scientology and how it's benefited her and blah, 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 which really made me sad because she did this really interesting Apple TV show that was a huge psychological thriller. And as an actress, she is brilliant.
Yeah.
She is a brilliant actress. And she's quite the method actress, by the way, which is what surprises me about her like involvement in Scientology, because the way she dives into acting would be completely against like Scientology's principles.
Right.
Also, and I've brought this up on other shows, but like she got a full sponsorship from Excedrin, and she was like an Excedrin spokesperson for years. Like Claire, how many Excedrins were you allowed to take in the Sea Org?
0.
Thank you. When you had a migraine, what was your cure?
Yeah. Oh gosh, CalMag.
Yeah, walk it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. When I saw her in that ad for Excedrin, I literally almost broke my TV. I wanted to just smash it. I was so mad. I am a migraine sufferer for many reasons. And when I saw Elizabeth Moss, a practicing Scientologist, taking big pharma money for real.
I know. The
like,
contradictions are endless,
I was
aren't
like, they accuse all of us. The second you're an ex-Scientologist and you say, Scientology kind of fucked me up a little bit, just like that, just like, like I can't sleep well now that I've left the Sea Org. Like, that's it. That's all you ever say, right? Like maybe not even doing this, like opening up a whole YouTube to tell the truth. Like, I don't sleep well now that I've left the Sea Org. We're suddenly on the payroll, Big Pharma. This
my gosh,
actually on the payroll, Big Pharma.
I know. Mark and I have joked about this so many times. We're like, for being on the payroll of Big Pharma, we ought to email Billy Bob because we ain't getting those checks.
I need it. I have 4 kids and a mortgage, and I'm just now finishing paying for the 3rd set of braces. I got one more coming up for the 11-year-old. I mean, like, hello. We're Eli Lilly. If you're listening,
I feel you.
I will send you my address.
We've done 2 so far. It's
thank you.
It ain't cheap.
No. Why are these braces so expensive, Claire?
Yeah, and not to mention, how many sets of braces did our parents pay for? At least in my case, nada.
My mom paid for one.
Oh, okay.
And then I had to get a second set at 21 while I was in the Sea Org. That was fun.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Crazy.
I mean, it's like, no, when you're in the Sea Org, it's like dental care is like non-existent.
Oh, yeah.
None of these healthcare things are existent.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah, totally. And back to Elizabeth Moss, I suppose I give her a little bit of a pass just because knowing that she's second generation, was born and raised into it.
Yeah.
And so her dad, at least I knew, Ron Moss, he was at the headquarters getting ethics handlings and interrogations and all this when he was Chick Corea's manager.
See, I don't know anything about her parents. I didn't know that he was Chick's manager. Oh,
yep.
R.I.P.
And they
Chick.
they were throwing Ron under the bus for the fact that it was insolvent and there was no money, and they were investigating. Marty Rathbun was investigating
About
Ron
Chick.
Moss. Yes. Yeah, and that's around the same time that then Scientology purchased the Mad Hatter Studios from Chick. So anyway, but nonetheless, I didn't watch Handmaid's Tale for the longest time, even though I'd read the book and and then finally I thought, I'll watch it just so I can document how hypocritical it is. And sure enough.
Oh, well, my friend, before I started doing all this stuff, I was on a podcast with my best friend, Colleen, and we were doing a podcast just dedicated to SNL. It was just fun. We'd watch the episodes and then talk about them. And she's like, we should do a whole thing where you just watch The Handmaid's Tale and then just talk about Elizabeth Moss and her hypocrisy of like breaking down every episode. I'm like, that's a great idea. I should do that because and I just thought, because I know I haven't read the book, I should read the book first. And then the premise of the book, I understand completely. And I'm thinking the first time I found out she was in it, I was like, how can she be in this and not see the absolute,
I know.
I thought being on the show would wake her up.
I know. That's what I hope too. It's like, come on.
Like the people who were on Orange is the New Black and stuff and then realized, oh, hot dog, I'm gay. Like the writer of the show was like, hey, I am the gay. Hello.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the people on the show, like writing all this super lesbian sapphic content was like, hi, I'm actually the gay.
Nothing like waking up in different ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could only write about that stuff in graphic detail so much. I mean, that was the other contention I had, and I screamed about that on Twitter for years. Laura Prepon getting paid professional lesbian while being like, I'm Scientologist. And I was like, bitch, is this real life? Is this like, I got sent to the RPF for doing this, just nothing. I didn't even use a tongue. I got sent to the RPF. This bitch is on TV like sex with Taylor, and I was like, is this real life?
Right. And yet she's a Scientologist in good standing, and they don't take it up with her or question anything. And I know it's crazy.
No. And if Laura and now Laura's like, well, I just moved away from it.
Yeah. And even
she's not declared.
Right. Still talking to all of her friends and all that. It's like, you know what? Stand up and speak your truth. Come on now.
And she got a GLAAD award. No, GLAAD, no. I'm sorry.
What's a GLAAD award?
So GLAAD is the organization for the gay and lesbian alliance.
Oh, okay.
She stood in the front of the entire cast and stood on stage and made a speech about how she's a fucking ally. No, you're not. While she was still an active Scientologist.
Wow.
That'd be like Danny Masterson getting an award for protecting women's rights. No.
Come on now. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Goodness. Yep, I totally get it. I know. And that's things like that is where I have the greatest respect for Leah Remini. And she could have just walked away too, but she didn't.
Oh no. She could have walked away, woken up and been like, oh shit, I done fucked up. Well, I'm glad I'm done with that now. I'm just going to go be an actress and do my thing and be like, yep, Scientology was a mistake. I fucked up. And then just moved on with her life.
Yeah.
And that, I would have respected that too. But she was like, here's the deal with Leah. She is a Jewish, Italian, don't fuck with me bitch from Brooklyn. And they done fucked with the wrong lady. She's taking both earrings off in the parking lot. She's coming for you. It's not, they don't they've known her whole life.
Yeah.
They forgot who they were dealing with. Yeah. And also what I mean by that is not that she's a mean person. It's she cares way too much. And when she cares and you done mess with somebody she cares with, that's
yeah.
Because not only did she realize that she cares about herself, but she realized that they messed up with people that she loves.
Right.
And that's where Scientology fucked up because they hurt other people that she loves.
Yeah.
and like Shelly and all these other people who are her friends. And now she's protecting her friends, because once you know Leah and she's your friend, that's it. You're her
Yep.
friend for life. And she's like,
Completely.
I'm
But
Mama Bear.
yeah, you remind me of something too, though, which is ironic. You could say of all of us, actually, that they made us who we are today
Oh yeah.
in different pieces, different ways. They messed with us after we left. Like, speaking for myself, I was just ready to walk away and start my new life and
Right?
pretend none of it ever happened. And they just prod and prod and prod and mess with you and mess with you, and you're like,
Why?
game on then.
Well, it's like I look at okay, for example, like I'm here doing my show, I'm doing my thing. So the degraded daughters, as an example, Vanessa and them.
Yep.
Okay. So they're not even monetized yet. They don't have as many followers as I do or you guys do or whatever. And if you guys aren't following their channels, please go like Degraded Daughters
Definitely.
Dynetics, like, follow, get them monetized. Let's do it. Um,
Yes.
but like they're not even monetized yet. They don't have as many followers. Their views aren't as up or whatever. Okay. But they already have PIs up their ass.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know why? I'm safe up here in Oregon. I'm in safe town. You guys are relatively safe where you guys are. But like Aaron's got PIs on his ass every day because
Yep.
he's in Florida. And now they've got PIs up their butt because they're in LA. So
Yep.
Scientology thinks that they own Los Angeles and they own Florida. Like, I'm sorry, you don't own anything.
Yeah.
Like, people are free to live wherever. Like my twin on the RPF, who you probably know, Misha.
Misha Prev.
Misha Perotti.
Oh, wait, Misha
She was married.
Perotti.
She
Misha.
was,
Okay.
you know,
What was her
Misha.
other name? Yeah.
Oh, her married name. I can't remember. She was married to a dude. Um, what was her married
Misha
name?
Karinga.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Got it.
Yes. There we go. Now
Yep.
we've connected the dots.
I know exactly. I know Misha. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So you know that story of how she ended up where she was with me. Okay.
I think so. Remind me though, because
Well, she skedaddled, and like this is how some of the security went up at the int base, because she skedaddled down the road and like hitchhiked with a neighbor guy in a truck,
Okay. Yeah.
and then like he drove her away from the base.
I forgot this story.
Right?
Sometimes we were so tired, so brain dead, so exhausted that you just become numb to some of the things that happen. And
Yeah, she and she was a minor at the time. She
right.
was like
No, I
17.
remember. Yeah.
And so she ran off, and she took off. Somehow she escaped. I think this is before the barbed wire went up or whatever. And she got into, like, she went on the back access road or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there was like some rando, rural guy just burp, 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 in his little truck. And she flagged him down and he drove her away. And then somehow security caught up with them and was like, well, you can't be here no more. You're going to go down to PAC.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up as my twin. And she was like doing the RPF as a trial run, because she's so Misha. She was just so like, I'm going to do this as a trial run. So somehow here I am, the gay,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to put me with her. I had no twin. I somehow, like, in 2 days on the RPF, I was like, I took a look at this course room. It was a shambles. It was the biggest joke I'd ever seen. I walked into the RPFIC's office. I said, I cannot be in this course room. It is the most out tech thing I've ever seen. It's disgusting. There's people falling asleep. No one's doing TRs correctly. I said, no. I told him, I said, I'll do anything on this RPF except for be in a course room. I cannot, like, supervise or word clear. I won't do it. Within 2 days, I was like, I can't. This is disgusting. No one's ever going to graduate your program. This is awful. I can't be in here. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. He goes, okay, well, you're going to have to take it over. And I was like, I told you I don't want to do that. I just want to do construction.
Yep.
And so then I ended up becoming the chief, like, thing within 2 days, which was insane because nobody ever gets promoted to, like, the tech thing before like 3 years on the RPF, right?
So you were then in charge of
I was in charge of the whole training. And so Misha shows up. I was waiting a month before I got a twin, because there was no one, because I was clear. So they didn't have anybody to twin with me. Misha was not clear when she arrived either. But of course, she had all these origins. She had all these originations. And so immediately she's clear.
I see.
She's possibly OT5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, yeah. So she gets bumped up to clear within like 5 minutes, and now we're twinned. And but she tells me in no uncertain terms, she's here on a trial run.
Hmm.
And then she gets bumped up to my boss in charge of the whole tech.
Trial run meaning she wasn't
She
sure
said she was
she
going to
was
give it
actually
6
going to do
months.
it.
Yeah, she said she's going to give
Okay.
it 6 months and then she's leaving.
Okay, I get
She
it.
knew why I was there and this whole thing.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know anyone. I've never heard somebody say, oh, I'm going to do this on a trial run. I don't know. Personally, I was like, if I ever get assigned to the rehabilitation project force, I am out.
Well, I was pretty sure I was out too. I mean, like the first thing they tried to do before sending me to the rehabilitation project force, to the RPF, was declare me. They sent up a declare order on me immediately. And I had a friend in the IJC office, in the International Justice Chief's office, who had a massive crush on me. And he sent it back and he was like, Nora's not a suppressive. Do something else. So that's the only reason I didn't get declared, is because I had a guy, I had a pet, because I had friends everywhere.
Yeah,
so I had
of course.
a friend in the IJC office that was like, nope. That's the only reason. But everybody was so disgusted with me. They were so disgusted. And they were convinced that, yeah, I mean, like, they moved me dorms because the chief officer was like, you know, obviously thought that I was attracted to her. And like, I was like, you're not my type. But anyway, you know, they were like, what do you want?
So many layers of judgment. It's
well, they were just
so cringy.
Immediately, every good work I'd ever done had been raised. I was the highest grossing word clear on the planet. I was in power. I was in a state of power. And yet I was going to get declared.
Right.
Because everything was just gone.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Just because they didn't accept you for who you are.
No. And they were like, well, what do you want to do? And so I was like, what do you mean? Do I want to go march in the Pride Parade right now? I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I guess I'm going to get handled. I don't know. Mm-hmm. What do you want to do? You know? And so, you know, they just kept having me listen to the Freedom Congress lecture over and over and over and sec checking me. And, you know, and then that was 3 months of that. And then I still didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, you guys, what's happening? Just let me go already then. Just like kick me out. And then my RPF order was the greatest RPF assignment ever. It was one sentence.
Yeah. One
sentence. Nora Sova has gone out to D with another Sea Org member.
Oh my goodness.
That's all it said. That's all it said. I used to carry it around in my pocket. I wish I still had it. That's all it said.
Which is that is crazy on so many levels. Talk about a generality.
Right. But also, first of all, that's not an RPF-able offense.
And it's not even what you did.
Beached.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be. And we once did a survey, like an informal survey on the RPF, of how many people were there for Out to D. Over 80% of the people were there for Out to D, which, kids, for the people listening, when you go to the Rehabilitation Project Force, you're only supposed to go there for financial errors, for being a List 1 RSer, which means that you have evil intentions towards Scientology or L. Ron Hubbard specifically.
Or David Miscavige.
Or David Miscavige. Yeah, that got added in later.
That got added, yep.
Because, you know, he's so important. And what was the other thing that you're supposed to go for? For being a non-producer, like a stat crasher. And there's one other thing. Yeah, those are basically
or
the reason.
If you found the WHO on an on an evaluation, on an investigation, you're found to be the big bad guy who's destroying everything.
Right, you're that's it.
Yeah.
But the specific orders on the second dynamic, if you violate the second dynamic, like if you cheat on your spouse or something, or if you touch somebody in a fun way before you're married, the flag orders are very clear. You're supposed to be beached. You're supposed to be tossed off the ship onto an island all by yourself. Good luck, Chuck, getting back to shore.
Yeah, which even that, it's funny thinking about that now that you mention that, because of course, yes, it says beached. Yeah, but we weren't at sea anymore, so that just means you got kicked out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when we finally got that building across the street and it got renovated, they started literally throwing people overboard by tossing them into the pool.
Which building are you talking about?
The building that we renovated on the RPF, the one that's they kicked all the Scientologists that were living there out very forcibly.
At the Big Blue building.
At Celebrity Center.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, I remember
apartment
that
building that they bought. So on the RPF, if you got thrown overboard, you had to stand in a trash can, and people just dumped buckets and buckets and buckets of water on you while you stand there getting waterboarded in the basement And then you had to then
Unbelievable.
drag the trash can to a drain and dump it out while you were soaking wet, and then go run a mile in the basement while all your clothes were soaking wet. And then, hang your clothes to dry in your dorm room, and
Yeah.
hopefully they were dry the next day unless you had a change of clothes.
Which you probably didn't.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Because, getting thrown overboard was a real thing. I mean,
Yep.
I wouldn't relish that on the actual ship. Hopefully they didn't really try to do that.
I think they did, actually. I've talked to people who know that they did. At the base, it was we'd get thrown into a lake. I got thrown into the lake a few times. And yeah, you had to do the walk of shame all the way across the property.
In your
to go-
uniform, or
Yeah.
do they?
No,
Oh
in
my-
your uniform, shoes and everything. Squelch, 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 walking. It's crazy. But okay,
Sweet.
so getting back to Misha, let's finish
Yeah.
up that.
So then we did the program. We were doing okay. I'm trying to think what happened. And then at one point, we had I blew. It was a big incident. We had put in a lot of technical stuff, and like I had graduated more people out of the course room than had ever happened, and things were going really well. We were like on the 7th dynamic form, because you have to do all of the forms.
Yeah.
But things, no matter what I did, everything just kept circling back to 2D shit, just like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It just really, if I smiled at a woman, I got a KR. If I, high-fived a woman too crisply in the courtroom, Nora's 2D flowing that person. If I, I'm a very effusive person in general. I love people. And it just, and to top things off, the person that I had kissed, the person I had, and it was more than just kissing. I mean, I was madly in love with this person, and we had like a relationship in the classic lesbian sense of like, we were in love with each other, and we fought, and we like wrote love notes to each other. And it was very like, we were definitely like had feelings for each other.
Mm-hmm.
She was also on the RPF with me at PAC. They did not separate us. Like one of us didn't go to Australia or Florida or like England.
Which is unusual for them. They normally would do that. Yeah.
Thank you. Like if we had been a heterosexual 2D problem, one of us would have gone somewhere else. But they were like, they got this. And that's what I pointed out. Like the first night, and I tell this story jokingly all the time, the first night, like at CC, and I'm sure at Gold, we had like dorms where you shared a room with like maybe 4 or 5 other people. And then we had a private bathroom, ensuite bathroom, where we'd all be like, okay, I'm in the bathroom. Hang on. I'll be right out. Mm-hmm. And you'd like change in the bathroom, and it was all private. So when you go to PAC, you have to run up 7 flights of stairs, and then you have a shower room, which is like 7 stalls that you're all like, I walk into the shower room. It's steamy. I've got like my shower kit. And then there's just 40 women that are in various states, mostly nude, coming in and out of these showers, just toweling off, chit-chatting with each other like, yeah, today was crazy, blah, 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 blah. Just titties out everywhere. And I was like...
Totally.
Like, this was like a lesbian fantasy show come to life. I'd never been in an environment like this. Like, I went to regular high school. We all changed like, okay, we're just changing into our PE clothes.
Right.
Don't have to look. Like I've been on many sports teams. We had never just got nude in front of each other. I was like,
yep, it was intimidating
for
anybody.
I had never seen that many boobs in my whole life that weren't mine, and I was like, oh. And I told the RPFSC, I said, this isn't changing my mind a lot. Like,
not working.
He's like, what's wrong with you? Get your reactive mind, get your, out ethics under control. And I said, can I, maybe go to a different shower room or something, like, and he was like, I got in trouble for being honest, trying to be like, I'm not,
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So then
I just trying to tell the honest truth. Yeah.
I was trying to like get my shit together. It wasn't helpful. Then She wasn't there at first, right? Austin wasn't there at first. So then she showed up like a month later. I thought, oh, maybe they're just letting her go. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
she's not coming. So then she showed up. And then I'm like, I'm in big trouble. Like, then we're showering in the same room.
Ugh, it's like mental torture.
And then I'm
It's
her
almost
supervisor.
deliberate on their part, I think.
And then it was like every time I went over to help her, so you're doing like the soup stance, you know, you got your hand on the back of the chair and your hand right here. That's the soup stance, you know.
Yep.
So what's happening, what's going on, and you're pointing at things. Anytime I did that, just the normal soup stance next to her, it was like, oh, everyone, head craning. You know, like I'm just supervising. I'm
Yep.
supervising. I wasn't like, let me pet your hair. Let me get extra close here. How are you? Do you have a misunderstood word? What's happening?
Yep.
Let me guide you through the materials. You know, like it was just supervising. Mostly it was like, you know, for me it was like I knew everybody was watching. So that was really hard.
Yeah.
And then so we were on like the seventh dynamic stuff, and then we had removed the cameras and stuff because part of what was happening is like they were trying to, when I first was there, they were trying to use RTC standards on a read it, drill it, do it course room.
Right.
And so I was
So
like,
when you
this is
talk about cameras, you're talking about all the counseling was being recorded, I'm presuming.
no, the course room was being recorded.
Oh.
And they
Oh,
were
wow. Okay.
literally getting people to like pass FN checks and pass read standards at an RTC level standard
Yep.
for a read it, drill it, do it course room. And I was like, get these fucking cameras out of here. We are a read it, drill it, do it course room.
Yep.
This is the wrong level standard. Get this shit out of here. Let's get the right standard put in and let's get some people passed. I have an RTC pass on all of this stuff, 2 of them, by the way. Let's get people passed. I can pass people to the appropriate standard for read it, drill it, do it. Let's go. And so I started cranking people out of the course room and people started passing. And guess what? People started doing a good job in their auditing and they started passing through the auditing levels.
Yeah.
So even Andreas, who then became the senior CS West US, started like getting people through like stuff. So then somebody got it in their head that I was falsely passing people through stuff because we had one student who I caught and reported, by the way, who was falsifying reads.
Okay.
And I caught them and I fucking reported them. So then somebody decided they needed to put cameras back. And on the word clears specifically, because I had gotten multiple word clears in the classroom and because we needed them. And I was like, no, get these fucking cameras out of here.
Yeah.
And the deputy for tech, Adam, who's now out. I cannot
Adam
think
Sala?
of his, no.
No.
Adam Daniels.
Okay. I didn't know him.
I think it's his sister who's now with Catherine. I think it's the same family, but I can't be too sure. But I digress. That's a whole other thing.
Oh, and by the way, talk about a whole other thing. Did you know that Andreas Rodriguez, when he was at Flag, was engaging in activities with a minor, for which he should have gone to jail?
I was on training with him.
Yeah.
At Flag. Yeah, we were there at the same time. He almost punched me out on the bus one time. I got because he was at CMO at the time, and I got a care package from my mom. And he used to like do like a friendly banter, kind of flirty, kind of like very J&D, very jokey and degrading with me all the time, just like poking fun at me and all this shit. So I got this very big care package from my mom. And he's like, oh, what did you get? What's in care package? You know, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know. And he was like, no, come on. You're hiding from me. Oh, you have withhold. What's your withhold? And he's like trying to like bullbait me about what's in the package. Yeah. And like now everybody's gathering around kind of like looking like it's something bad in the package. And he's like, I'm turning red. And he's like, oh, did you, like trying to like murder routine me on what's in the package. If it's like drugs, if it's something else. And so finally I was like, I pulled out a huge box of tampons and I was like, "Oh, did you need a tampon today, Andreas? Did you get your period?" And he was like, everybody started laughing because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, "You don't get to talk to me like that. I'm an officer and CMO. You don't joke and degrade me." Blah, 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 blah. And just started like screaming at me. And everybody's like, I was like, then don't fucking ask me what's in my package.
Yeah,
Like,
seriously.
none of your business.
Stay in your lane, Jane.
Right. And then he wrote a KR on me because I like joke and degrade him in front of the whole bus. I had to go see ethics and write up my OWs for, like joking and degrading a CMO person on the bus. And I was like, no, like he was yelling at me and making fun of me for 10 minutes.
Yep.
And they're like, "No, it doesn't matter. You don't get to joke back."
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was just a side comment
Yeah,
because
no,
he's another
Andreas.
person that should be in jail that
Oh my God.
Scientology has enabled. But either way, back to the Rehabilitation Project Force before
yeah.
we run out of time for today.
Oh, I know. So then I got into this, like I turned off the camera. So he got in my face and started screaming at me and told me I wasn't allowed to be in the course room anymore.
This is Adam Daniels.
Adam Daniels.
Okay.
He kicked me out of my own course room. And so did the Debo Tech at the time. Misha had now gotten promoted to the bosun. She was in charge of the whole RPF. She was the RPFer in charge of the RPF.
Okay.
And so she was in a meeting.
And she's still your twin?
She's still my twin at the time.
Okay.
And so the other person, Sarah was another one that came from INT. I think she worked with Mike directly at the time. She came out and she was screaming at me about something. And basically I was like, this is not standard tech. You guys are all fucking nuts. And I was being made to write up all my OWs and all this other shit. And finally I was just like, this is like, that's it. I'm being screamed at and all this stuff. And finally I was like, this is not standard tech. And I forget what the exact conversation was, but I was like, this is the hill I'm going to die on. Like, this is just bullshit.
Yeah.
And so I got into this huge screaming match and I was just like, that's it. This is the living end. And I just like slammed my clipboard down and I just fucking left. Like I just ran off. Dan, what was his last name? He was an auditor at CC. He had like silver fox hair. He was, he was a relative of what's his butt from the Leah's chaplain guy. Anyway, he was like his uncle.
Okay.
Anyway, smallest town on the planet.
Exactly.
He comes running after me. I'm literally bolting out of the second floor where we were housed there. And I just literally ran out of the building. I was just like, I ran down all the way through the base. Like I ran the longest way possible, like out of the base, all the way up the back end, across Sunset Boulevard. Like I'm running through traffic. I just fucking ran and I just kept running. I ran into the what was it? The John's parking lot. And I like tore off my clear bracelet and I slammed it on the ground and I like he picked up my clear bracelet and I was just like fucking booking it. Like I thought I was running towards my mom's house. She lived in Eagle Rock at the time. I didn't really know how to get there.
Yeah.
She had moved when I was on the RPF. I just kept running and I told him just to go fuck himself. Like I didn't want to talk to him. And I was like, I'm leaving. I'm done with the RPF. I don't care. I'm done with Scientology. I just kept running. And I ran like all the way around the lake that's there. And we ended up at this little park. And I ended up like, there was like a basketball game happening. And he kept just trying to like talk me down. And he's like, well, you don't have to do Scientology. It's fine. I was like, fine, I'm not doing it. And there was a basketball game happening. And I was like, I'm going to play basketball with them. I'm in my full RPF uniform with my boots and my black jeans and my gray shirt and shit. So I went and played basketball. And then we kept walking. And I couldn't find my mom's house. I was in the totally wrong neighborhood. And we ended up at this 7-Eleven. And finally he like talked me into, this is like 4 hours of just walking.
Wow.
He talked me into going back. And I said I had to go to the bathroom. So the 7-Eleven guy let me go to the bathroom. And when I came out of the bathroom, he was like looking at magazines, which of course we're not supposed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment where I walked outside and he was still looking at magazines. And then I saw him look up to where the bathroom was. And there was a moment where I could have just run because he didn't know where I was. I was outside looking at him
Yeah.
and he was looking towards the bathroom, and I could have just taken off. And I thought for a minute of, there was another like business that had like a balcony up above. And I had this thought of like, I'm going to go sit in this balcony and just watch him panic and watch everybody arrive and watch them freak the fuck out and not know where I am. And then I thought, you know what? He's a good guy and he's going to get in so much trouble.
Yeah.
He's
It's
gonna get
interesting you say
murdered.
that. I don't know if you've ever read the book Trauma and Recovery by Judith somebody, but either way, it talks in there about that exact mental moment. And it's the whole study of PTSD starting back with World War II, and intentionally keeping small groups of people so you'd have this loyalty to the people you work with to not want to hurt them by leaving.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
And so I knocked on the window and he turned around and he was shocked. He was shocked. And then Misha showed up and she bolts out of the fucking van and is just screaming bloody murder at me. And she did not stop screaming at me until we arrived back. And now, of course, we're on the RPF's RPF. That's a thing, kids.
Mm-hmm. The bottom of the barrel. You can't get lower than that in Scientology.
No, she's lost her whole status now because now she's not in charge of the RPF because I've just blown it for us.
I see.
And that's
why she was so mad at you specifically. It was personal for her.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
And I tried to leave legally then. And we went
And what year was this, sorry?
That was probably 2001.
Okay. And when did you and how much time elapsed?
I was on for another year after that.
Okay.
I mean, that was the first time I tried to actually legally leave. I went before what's that called?
Fitness board.
Thank you. I went before a fitness board. I told them I can't make another person better. I did the whole shebang. I said, I can't make another person better. I'm a piece of shit. Please let me leave. Gigi Scudolari was watching me, if you ever came across that guy.
No.
Oh my God, tiny little Italian man, Gigi Scudolari. He told me famously, listen, Nora, I'm not worried about you. Even if you become a bum, you be king of the bums. It's okay.
Wow.
You're gonna be okay. Even if you're on street, it's okay. You'll be okay.
Unbelievable.
Who says that to somebody?
You'd be the king of the bums.
You'll be king of the bums.
Oh my
Nora.
gosh.
You'll be okay. He's an old guy. I'm sure Mike knows Gigi Scudolari.
Yeah.
But yeah. No. And now the shocking twist that happened was my fitness board got approved. But for 3 months,
Meaning they approved you to leave?
They approved me to leave.
Okay.
I did not know this. The RPFIC, Alex Duvall, kept not Alex Duvall. He was the security
Alex
chief.
Meyer.
Alex Myers. Thank you. There's too many Alexes in this year.
Yeah, no joke.
Too many. Oh my God. Like everybody thinks Sarah was the big name. Alex was the name in the Sea York.
Yeah.
Alex Meyer kept I asked him every day, did the fitness board come back? Did the fitness board come back? Nope. And so every day they were like trying to get me to do conditions, doing all these things. Finally, 3 months into being badgered, I finally was like, I guess I'll stay. I don't know. I mean, I guess nothing's happening. I guess I don't have a choice. They're just not getting back to me. So finally, one day I told him, I said, I guess I'll stay. And he goes, I knew you'd change your mind. And he pulls out my approved fitness board with the approval stamp on it. He goes, I've just been waiting.
They are relentless in how they mentally wear people down. It's crazy. It never ceases to amaze me on that front.
But it's like, why keep me?
Right.
What possible use is somebody who's literally begging to leave, who's been approved? Their organization is like, get the fuck out of here. Bye.
Yep.
What use am I to them?
Yeah.
That's how desperate they are for people.
Yeah, it's true.
They're so desperate. But I mean, it's like they were willing to let me go. They were willing to just be like, yeah, we don't need Nora anymore. We don't. And they were never going to let me come back to Cece.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other joke. I was not qualified to go back there. And that was the other thing I kept asking. Like, am I going back to Cece?
Mm-hmm.
And they were always like, oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Because I was like, I'm not going to Asho. 0% am I wearing that dead cow tie. Like, that's not happening. I will not do it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll go to any other org on the planet. I'm not going to. And it was like, nobody at PAC wanted me.
Yeah.
Nobody at
So
PAC wanted me. So
crazy.
I was like, where am I going?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted me. It's like, who wants the gay chick? Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody
Oh my
wanted me. So
gosh.
it was
It
like,
just
well,
is nuts.
where was I going to go?
Right. Yeah. But, and yet you're right. They're so desperate. They could not just let you go.
They were just where was I gonna go? What org? Honestly, Claire, in RTC opinion, what org was gonna take me and not just have me be in a basement by myself for the rest of my life? Like,
Yeah.
Nora can go clean treadmills. Like,
yeah. Yeah. At the headquarters, they would, make people the deputy de-weeding in charge, like put them in positions where they're going to have like no influence ever,
right?
Not even over weeds.
Right?
Oh my gosh, it's brutal.
No.
Oh, well, we hit our hour mark for today. Could you believe that? Time flies when we're talking about this crazy stuff,
we
right?
just talked about nothing.
Yeah, I know, totally. Oh my gosh. But we'll have to do this again sometime and talk about more of our interactions when I was in
We didn't even get to
Religious
talk about
Technology
flag
Center.
when
I
we
know,
were there.
I know. By the way, do you know, I just wanted to share this one last thing with you because it blew my mind. So, in Scientology, you have a beingness, right? You're going to get in beingness. And of course, I'm sure you remember in Religious Technology Center, you're like the police of the police and have to have ethics presence and all of this. Well, L. Ron Hubbard had this written thing saying when you're in Religious Technology Center, your beingness is, quote, hard as cold chrome steel, unquote. And I always struggled with this because I was like, how can a human being replicate steel? A few weeks ago, I was talking about this on a live with Amy Scobie, and one of the viewers commented and said, that is a direct quote from an Adolf Hitler speech to Nazi youth.
What?
Can you freaking believe that?
I actually do believe that because let's be honest, L. Ron Hubbard was so fucking racist.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the most racist things. That was something that I was just contemplating talking about on Juneteenth, which is of course tomorrow.
Yes.
Because the racist undertones are not subtle in Scientology. That man was not shy. Right. About his racism and his love for everything that was white.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a
reason. And now that this explained so much to me because how he talked about messengers, they need to start at a really young age, preferably the age of 6 is what I think the advice said. Yeah. So now we know. Okay, great. He was patenting off Nazi youth. That was his goal. That was his end game.
That does not, just not, wow. I mean, it just, the parallels and everything else really doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
And what doesn't also shock me is the more that I watch these documentaries about other cults, the absolute blueprint that all of these cults, like the secretness, the reporting,
our way or the highway, the isolation.
Yeah. And the layers of the leader and like the inner circle and like the apostles and like just like the Orgborg kind of like situation.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same. And it's just insane to me.
Yeah.
Like how they're all the same. I mean, and I'm like,
I know.
Whoa. It's crazy. They just all do the same thing. The philosophies are even super similar.
Yes.
Which is eerie.
Yeah. And it's funny. Each one thinks, oh, they're way crazier than us,
Right. Right. But it's all the same thing. I mean, like I watched the one on that orgasm cult and I was like, this bitch really did like 3 Scientology seminars and came up with her own thing. She's like, I like to be touched. How can I do this but get touched at the same time? she's like, I'm going to do this. Because she even quotes L. Ron like several times. I was like, that's L. Ron Hubbard.
I haven't seen or heard of that one.
Oh, it's called One Taste.
One Taste. Okay.
The One Taste documentary.
Okay.
On Netflix.
Okay.
That was a nasty one. But then there's this whole shiny happy people one.
Yes.
My wife is always like, is this good for your brain?
Right.
Is this good for your brain?
That's
and I'm
a fair question.
I'm like, probably not, but I want to see it. You know, like,
I can't look away.
I need to see it. But it's like, is it good for my brain? But also it is kind of healing sometimes. Yes. It's like, I have to like look at it. And then like my wife reminded me before we went on, she's like, where are you? And let's be here, because I'm always like, I'm in my house and I'm safe and I'm good, you know. And it's like, it's sad to have to do that as a 47-year-old person, but it's like, I do have to remind myself, like, I'm safe and I'm okay. And that's what I always tell people when they're starting to speak out, or they're starting to like dip their toe out of the pool. Like, we get, you know, I'm sure you get contacted by people all the time, and I get contacted by people via email and other things. And please do contact us if you're questioning, or you're thinking about it, or you're like, you know, you're just watching these things.
Yes, exactly.
Or you just want to talk. Like, here's the deal. Like, you know, we're public figures now because we're on the YouTubes. But like, if you're out there and you're watching this stuff and you're thinking like, hey, I don't know, I'm starting to ask questions. Like, my email's out there. It's o.no, but there's like 3 O's in the no, and Nora@gmail. You can contact me anytime. Anything you say to me is held in complete confidence, unless you do want to talk about it on the channel. I don't talk about those things. That's totally private between me and you. But like, we're here to talk to you guys about, we're talking publicly about these things, but we're here to talk to you guys about, you know, getting out if you want to, or just questions that you have privately, because that's why we're doing this, to just tell you things that are real, but also to be here to chit chat about it if you need that, because we didn't have that.
No. And there is real power in communication and sharing experiences and comparing notes. And we were never allowed to do that in Scientology. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to ask questions, or even you and I. Like, I knew you and I had no idea of your story. So anyway. Yeah. Oh, well, on that note, we'll wrap up for today. Thank you so much for your time. Go enjoy your family. Give your wife a hug, and we'll talk soon.
Hugs to Mark. Happy Father's Day.
Yes. I already gave him his breakfast in bed and his coffee. So my duty is done. No, I'm just kidding.
Now he can go mow the lawn. All right.
Awesome. Always a pleasure, Nora. I'll link to your channel, and thank you again for your time. We'll talk again soon.
All right.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.